My name is Robert Christopher Wayne Weathers. I live at 3102 Center Hill Road, Acre, Mississippi, 38841. I am still under attack by Scientology. So let me explain what Scientology is. There are more than 3 dimensions. This is a fact. There are 12 dimensions in total in our universe. We have biology in these extra dimensions. 12 dimensions worth of organs and tissues attached to us. We utilize this biology while we are alive to think, to eat, to drink, to sleep, to have sex, and for your nervous system to function overall. That everything that you feel and experience comes from extra dimensional biology. You can think of it, the third dimension as just a shell. We are just a shell for something else. There's more there. These dimensions appear on the inside of the universe, on the inside of the matter that creates this universe. It appears to be inward expansion or something. It goes somewhere else. But there are 12 dimensions there, full of biology. We also utilize this biology to have an afterlife. So the human genome produces a 12-dimensional humanoid designed to live in outer space. We can fly. We have a head covering that has 2 horns. We can even do magic. We can move particles around. We have powerful eyesight, big 12-dimensional eyes that can see down to the molecular level. We can see biology's functioning on an intimate level. Like we can see the brain and central nervous system lining up in each other in the afterlife. We are Anunnaki. That is the human bloodline and the human afterlife experience. That's what's attached to it. That is our soul. It produces a horned being designed to live in outer space among the stars. Scientology is the practice of utilizing this extra dimensional biology before they die. They remove it from themselves, and they use technology and techniques to turn it into an upper dimensional vehicle, a biology in which they can drive through the upper dimensions while they are still alive. They do this from a remote location on Earth. So these extra dimensional organisms, they appear alien. There is the Anunnaki form, which is they drive it and it still has its horns attached. There's the blue blood form, grays, greens, whites, browns, lizard people using various methods, insectoids using insect body parts, lizard people using lizard body parts, and worm people using worm body parts. I'm being assaulted by these people. So there are people on Earth driving aliens through our environment at this very moment. There are aliens on Earth. They are being driven by humans. So humans are the aliens. The aliens in which people have seen, had encounters with since the 60s, 50s, and 60s come from Scientology. If it's not through the church, it's the free zone. It is people not affiliated with the church using the technology. The government also uses Scientology's technology. So let me explain their technology. First off, I had to explain this entanglement phenomenon. So there is an entanglement between our third dimension and our inner dimensions. The shell and everything attached to it is entangled. If you remove a piece of extra dimensional biology, no matter where you take it to in the universe, you are still in that biology. What happens is you can't remove energy from the particle it consists of. The particle would be destroyed. The electron shell wants to travel in a perfect circle, no matter what. So as the removed body part leaves you, as it's leaving you, space-time in between you and this removed body part flips to zero and just leaving you. It's like it gets out of the way to ensure that this body part never actually leaves you. So that's entanglement. So they use this entanglement property in part of their um, with part of their technology. So they have facilities on Earth that house extra dimensional biology, body parts, brain tissue mostly. And inside of these facilities are storage systems that house body parts. And inside of these storage systems, they interface biology to computer systems using electrodes and sensors and chips and devices. And from here, it allows the users to interact with each other and communicate with each other in a digital landscape. It allows them telepathy. It also acts as a command center so they can drive the rest of their upper dimensional biology and other organisms, which are called surrogates. They also have devices that interface to the brain and central nervous system on the origin biology and for aliens, full biologies, mobile technology, remote technology. These devices interface to the brain and central nervous system. Some of this technology records sensory perception inputs or records sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. There's a screen that interfaces to the visual cortex. It allows you to see into this digital landscape with your eyes closed. It replaces the visual part of your brain. They also use this in communication and to drive. And some of this technology stimulates brain and central nervous system. So they can see and isolate individual memories and thought patterns and stimulate this area of the brain. This can make you experience a memory out of nowhere. They isolate this memory and stimulate it using electrical impulses, and it forces you to have this flashback. They can also stimulate thought patterns, and they stimulate areas of their brain that have to do with emotion. They can make you feel sad or joy or cry. They can make you have a wailing moment, an emotional response, and they send energy through their neurons. So this elevates neurochemistry. It has a narcotic-like effect upon the user. They stimulate both their neurons and their glands. This elevates neurochemicals such as dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. And it elevates hormones such as growth hormone, testosterone, and estrogen. It is extremely narcotic. It has an extremely narcotic-like effect upon the user. Being assaulted in the throat. They have worms, extra dimensional worms behind my trachea. They have removed over 90% of my biology. They have destroyed my brain, my sexual organs, my digestive system, and my nervous tissue. My muscles and tendons have all been cut away and peeled back and mutilated, dissected. This technology also gives them the ability to drive other organisms that are not their own. They can drive humans, animals, insects, and worms in any dimension. They can drive third dimensional humans down the road. They can drive parasites through a biology. They call this practice vortex. Driving parasites through a biology, utilizing it as a weapon. Utilizing a parasite as a weapon. They can drive other organisms. So they drive these worms to a human being or the other organisms and use it as a weapon. That's what they're doing to me. They put worms inside of me. And they're using these worms to assault my biology, my organs and tissues, my brain, my nervous system. So this all started for me about 14 years ago, between 13 and 14 years ago. I was a political activist on social media. I'm also an author. I write literature. I participated in a lot of debates about politics and religion and environmental issues. I had a large following. I'm a Class A personality with a genius level IQ, I guess. I'm well studied. I studied the sciences, what I do for fun. Someone decided to practice Scientology on me. They installed devices. And they started communicating with me using social media platforms. The ads that I've seen on social media and the internet, the people that were on there communicating with me, it was apparent that they could see into my environment. They were invading my privacy. They were communicating directly with me. I told them to leave me alone, to get away from me. I did not accept their advances. I was making weapons for the military, the Department of Justice, and for the public. I made less lethal munitions, flashbangs, tear gas, smoke, rubber bullets, sandbag bullets, tear gas, smoke. We even made the deterrence flares that went in fighter jets. When a jet has a missile coming to them, they shoot out flares out the back. We made those flares. I made the cans. I was a tool maker for this company. Also made lethal munitions, grenade rounds, and machine gun parts. I couldn't have anybody invading my privacy. It was in a classified setting. Well, the government came and assimilated me into this hive mind. They either removed body parts and took to their storage facilities, and they installed devices in my biology, in my brain. This allowed for telepathy, communication. They told me they had found a device, but some of the people in this hive were hostile. They started threatening me right off the bat, being hostile, bullying me, demeaning, harassment. They turned off the hive mind technology, but they left it one way. It was still apparent that people in the world were invading my privacy. They could see into my environment. Uh, People like marketing companies, social media companies, Microsoft, Google, and politicians and the government. I felt violently ill. The whole side of my head swelled up. I got a bad lazy eye. I could feel things stuck inside of me. I started going to the hospital. And these people would steal my intellectual property. So I'm an author. I'm part Native American. My Native American name is Crazy Bird. I'm part Lakota. I write literature in my spare time. I wrote Crazy Bird comics. I wrote the Environment Creation Agency, Divine Currency or Buffalo Dollars. I wrote Alien Bob, Bug Bob, Space Bob. And I studied science and philosophy a lot. Well, people were using my ideas and the things that I was working on, they used it for themselves and in their own works. People were invading my privacy. It turned into intellectual property. I contacted the authorities, told them that somebody was using some kind of illegal surveillance technology on me to steal intellectual property. It wasn't long after that the hive mind technology turned back on. And this time they installed the screen. Also, I started having weird dreams, lucid dreams, that I was somewhere else and I was experiencing another body. And in these dreams, I was presented with weird scenarios like having to fight or being trapped, buried underground, claustrophobia, assault, fear, car accidents, weird sexual encounters. This happened throughout the entire 13 years. Looking back now, all I've seen lizard people and Anunnakis and aliens in my dreams. When the hive mind technology turned back on, I started to see them again. They gave me technology that allowed me to see into the upper dimensions. I could see them in my environment. Humanoids walking around, look like humans walking around, and insectoids, bug people, a lot of surds, worms running around, a lot of different organisms, then Anunnakis, and aliens. And they got to witness me create intellectual property. So I was in the process of writing Crazy Bird upon assimilation again. They seen this of such value. They stated they were going to take it, they were going to steal it. They wanted the biology that goes with it. So you have to understand how these people think. Body parts to them are commodities. If they can get someone's biology, they have an upper advantage over that person. You can make a person sick because of this entanglement property, where you can read their thoughts. Uh, and it gives you a level of control over that person. They also use extra dimensional biologies for transplant purposes. So there's 12 dimensions worth of biology attached to us. These Scientologists like to cleave themselves every 3 dimensions. They like to cut the layers off of themselves. They like to remove the layers with the horns. You're left with an alien, and then they remove that and they remove that, and you wind up with 3 or 4 biologies in the upper dimensions that you can modify and turn them into upper dimensional biology. but most of their biologies are lacking organs and tissues because you have to leave organs and tissues behind or use them on one biology. So they take organs and tissues from other humans and other species in an attempt to make themselves whole and function properly again. And this is where lizard people come from, insectoids, or bug people, and worm people. They also use lizards and insects and worms for surrogate purposes. So they started cutting body parts off, specifically brain tissue, and used it to create an alien. It was a surrogate where they used it for a transplant purpose. And they took more and more and more and more and more. They seen my body parts as something very valuable, body snatching. So they did this for three reasons. One, for transplant purposes. They wanted to use my body parts on their alien planet. Two, surrogates. They were making surrogates out of my extra dimensional biologies, little organisms, biologies that they could drive around that are not their own. Surrogates. They made surrogates out of my biology. And three, they wanted my biology because of this entanglement phenomenon. They can take it to a remote location and do things to it like assault it, stick foreign objects or fill it full of worms, or subject it to a harsh environment, pour acid on it, caustic chemicals, do things to it like drop it out of holes, drop it through space time. It causes friction burns. So they wanted to torture me with it, use it as a voodoo doll. Voodoo dolls are real in the upper dimensions. You take a part of someone's biology to a remote location and stab something in it, and the origin biology, the person that it belongs to, will feel it. We'll have to deal with that going through it. They assault my animals. So then it turned into a snuff film. They are making a snuff film using this technology. Since it records sensory perception input, everyone's vision is being recorded, and they are making a movie, or a documentary, or it's a snuff film. They torture me to death. Steal my intellectual property. Yeah, make money doing it. They harass me with this technology badly. They harass me constantly. Nothing good comes out of their uh, through this telepathy. It's all harassment. They berate me. They say I kill people, which is a lie. It's a setup. It's something that never happened. They are trying to create some false narrative which says that I've done something wrong, that I'm to blame for everything that's happening to me. And they are premeditating my death. So they keep giving me death threats, and then they keep planning my death using body snatching, lacerations, mutilation, worms, parasites. They are here right now on their aliens that they won't leave. You're breaking the law. I do not consent for you to be here. This is breaking and entering. This is home invasion. You are breaking the law. I do not consent for you to speak to me in my own home. I'm being assaulted. I do not consent for you to be here. You are breaking the law. I do not consent for you to speak to me. You are breaking the law. So there are a bunch of civilians and government agents all together in the same hive mind. Making aliens. I'm being assaulted with my penis. So they have mutilated my penis badly today, which is the main reason for me making this video, is so I can report criminal activity. They have mutilated my toes and my penis today. I'm in pain. I'm being harassed again. You're breaking the law. I do not consider for you to speak to me. You're breaking the law. You're breaking the law. I don't care. You're breaking the law. Stop talking to me. Stop. You're breaking the law. God damn it. So this has become valuable to them. So they can steal intellectual property, sell seats to other Scientologists, allow other Scientologists to steal intellectual property, then steal body parts. They're making a snuff film. They're going to torture me to death and steal my intellectual property. They forced me to listen. They rub it in my face. They take body parts. They assault me. They are stealing intellectual property. They're going to get away with this. I do not consent for you to speak to me. You are breaking the law. This is my home. You are breaking the law. I do not consent for you to speak to me in my own home. You're breaking the law. These are humans driving aliens. I have driven aliens before. They allowed me to practice Scientology for a short moment. I got to drive an alien that got killed. So they used the ability to drive to torture me in outer space. I got to experience driving on an alien just to get tortured and killed. So I got to drive before. I got to drive my own biology before it got mutilated. I got to drive in an Unakai, and I don't know what it was. Second or third time, I guess blue blood. blue alien. They force me to have dreams every night. They have to interface with a part of my brain tissue that I want to be left alone. They have removed most of it. So this is happening for several different reasons. First off, Scientology has developed a very large criminal community. They traffic humans, both for sexual purposes and for organ donations. Fodder. They see people as fodder for their surrogate making practices and for their transplant purposes. They force assimilation upon people. Persons of interest. If you're a government agent or politician or big business owner, marketing company owner, social media company owner, you may get forced to assimilate. They force you to practice Scientology, or they at least force you into a hive mind so they can communicate with you and can control your behavior. Use your abilities and skills and authorities to suit their interests. They are very religious and cult-like people. So this technology also has a narcotic-like effect upon people. It is getting them high. They get psychotic and delusional, extremely irritable. Elevated dopamine levels lead to irritability syndrome. You can't stand to be around other people. You can't stand to be spoken to. They are quick to become violent. Pettiness is rampant among these people. If they don't like you, they don't want you to even have your body parts. They will cut body parts off of you out of pettiness, jealousy, greed. They don't like to see other people succeed. Toxic masculinity is rampant among the men and some of the women. and they are experiencing something akin to roid rage. So they get up there and get high and get this control over the rest of human beings, and they get to experience the abilities that we have in the afterlife, and they consider themselves gods. They get the God complex. And lastly, conditioning. So they are conditioned to remove body parts for a living. It's all they do for a living. They cut body parts off, one after another after another. It is their employment and their hobbies. They do it for fun. They are addicted to it. They are conditioned to do this. I do not consent for you to speak to me. You are breaking the law. have to make these videos to alter their behavior. They gang up on you.